Hello there, everybody. My name is Brad Bilski, and I am your instructor for our microeconomics course. This May mini semester, it is the BA 252 course. This is going to be a completely online course. We're not going to actually physically meet with one another. So I wanted to put out a brief introductory video just to kind of lay out the expectations for the course, talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing in the class, due dates, assignments, all that good stuff. And I'm going to walk you guys through the syllabus and also go through the class page on Sakai. If any of you guys haven't ever taken an online class, it might be helpful to kind of go through the different links and see where everything's located on the course page. The syllabus itself is actually located in Sakai, so if you wanted to pause this video and grab up the syllabus while going through it, you can go to our course page here, and hopefully all of you guys have got the invite to join our class page on Sakai already. If you haven't seen that invite, please let me know as soon as possible so I can make sure to get you added to the course. But if you are in the course page and you want to pull up that syllabus, we have a link right here for the syllabus, and you can just double click on that and it'll download the Word document for you. At the top of this syllabi, I have all of my contact information. The best way to reach me is through email at my Tennessee Wesleyan email address. I try to check the email daily throughout the work week, and being it's an online course, it is really important for us to have good communications. Again, we're not going to physically meet, so anytime you have a question, try to reach me through the email. I'd be happy to set up a phone conversation or a Skype meeting also if you wanted to meet and discuss the course kind of away from email. Going down through the course description, this is a course in microeconomics. So there's two broad branches of economics, micro and macro. Macro looks at larger, big picture issues in the economy. It's looking at things like the rate of economic growth for the entire economy, the unemployment rate, the inflation rate, things that affect everybody within a given economy. Microeconomics, which we are going to study, looks at smaller picture issues. So we're looking at decisions that individual consumers make. We're looking at decisions that individual companies make or individual industries. So it's looking at more focused, individualized problems as opposed to macroeconomics that looks at kind of bigger picture types issues. So you can see under our course learning outcomes, we have some of the major learning objectives for the course, talking about the forces of supply and demand and market efficiency. Whether you take a micro or a macro class, you would study supply and demand. So you would see that in either of these courses. So if you take the macro class, it's actually offered in our June mini session, or if you've taken macro in the past, either here at Wesleyan or maybe it's some other school, you've probably already encountered supply and demand. So that's a very general topic that we see both in macro and micro. Once we start getting into learning objectives 2 through 5, we're looking at more things that are specific to microeconomics, looking at the effects of government intervention, analyzing market structures, which is the difference between monopolies, which is just one company that dominates an industry, and perfect competition, where you have many, many different companies operating in an industry. There's a whole spectrum between monopoly and perfect competition, so we'll learn about all those different types of industry structures. We'll look at the concept of elasticity, which is really important for you guys if you're going to start your own business or if you're going to work for a company. Basically, the elasticity of demand looks at how sensitive consumers are to changes in price, which is really key. If you're trying to sell your product, you want to know what price you should charge. That's going to be in large part determined by how your customers, the consumers, react to the price that you set. And we're also going to look at the idea of marginal analysis, which is basically looking at small changes, how that affects individual consumers and producers. So those are like large, high-level course objectives. For each particular chapter we look at, we're going to have individualized course objectives, and we'll run through those when we get to the class page on Sakai. We can also see that we have our program learning outcomes as well, talking about some general skills that you'll pick up in the business program overall. Coming down to information about the course and our grading policies, and notice that the book here is the Greg Mankiw Principle of Economics text. It's the 8th edition through Cengage Learning. Please get that as soon as possible. You're going to need that within the first couple days of the course. And I should note, this course only lasts 3.5 weeks, right? It's a mini session. It's very accelerated, so you're getting a full semester's worth of economics content within those 3.5 weeks. So it's a lot of stuff you're going to be taking in a very short time. So you really want to make sure that you have enough time set aside to be able to devote towards this course. Basically, we're covering roughly 5 chapters a week through the first 3 weeks. So you're going to need to set aside time to read each of those chapters. There's going to be a quiz on each chapter. There's also going to be a homework assignment and a discussion board post on each of those chapters. So a lot of stuff we're going to be doing each week. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware this is going to be a lot more work than you would typically see for a microeconomics class that would last an entire semester, which is about 4 months. So we could see the breakdown of those particular assignments. Every chapter we work through, we're going to have a quiz. The quiz is generally 10 to 20 questions, and those quizzes will be worth 20 points each. So the whole class is graded on a 1,000-point system. So you'll have 300 points, 30% of your total grade coming from quizzes. That's going to be 15 chapter quizzes at 20 points each. We're going to have a final exam, which is also 300 points, 30% of your grade. This is going to be proctored through a third-party vendor called Remote Proctor Now, which is basically an application that monitors you as you take your exams. So we'll talk about that as we move a little bit farther through the class and get closer to the final exam. But basically you're going to have to log into the system, and you need a computer with a webcam to be able to do this. So that's a requirement for the course, that you have access to a computer with a webcam at least for 1 day at the end of the semester when you take your final exam. So please make sure if you don't have your own computer with a webcam, you have access to one so you can take that exam. And I should note, the final exam is closed book, closed notes, so it's kind of like a typical exam that you would take in class. I will give you a couple-day window to take it, so you're going to have a set amount of time to do it, but you'll have some flexibility over the couple of days when you start the exam. So once you start the exam, though, you can't pause it. The clock runs, and you have your 2 hours to work through it. The quizzes, on the other hand, those are open books, so these are giving you some good practice. So it's not going to be proctored. You're doing this on your own. If you see a question you don't automatically know the answer to, you can go back through your book and kind of research it to get the correct answer. So the quizzes are kind of preparing you step by step, chapter by chapter, to be able to work on the final exam, which is cumulative and covers everything, closed book, closed note. We'll also have weekly discussion board posts, and these are going to talk about how to apply concepts that might be somewhat technical to your own lives. So I'll be asking questions about things that you might have done in your life, consumer decisions you might have made, and talk about how those kind of relate to some of the ideas we're discussing from our textbook. Homework assignments are 15% of those grades. Your final grade. Each one's going to be 50 points, and that's the same setup as your discussion board post. Each discussion board post is worth 50 points. There's going to be 3 of them, one for each of the first 3 weeks of the class. Same idea with the homeworks. You'll have 3 homeworks, 1 for each week, and those are worth 50 points each. And those are basically going to be some short answer questions where you're going to be typing in some responses into Sakai, talking about some of the ideas we learned about throughout the 5 chapters that you covered that particular week. And also we have a semester end project, and that's worth 10% of your final grade, or 100 points. So I'll go through Sakai. I'll show you guys where you can find all this stuff in a second. And notice we have our course outline, and everything's going to be due for the first 3 weeks on Sunday night. So all of your first batch of quizzes, the first 5 quizzes, are out there and available to be taken. I would recommend doing 1 quiz a day, kind of spreading it out. So your first set of quizzes are going to be due May 13th. That's this Sunday evening. Also, your first homework and your first discussion board post are also due Sunday evening. So I know it's easy to kind of put this stuff off to the weekend, but I'd really highly suggest trying to spread it out so you're not stuck trying to do all this stuff at one time. That really helps with the learning process, to be able to slowly kind of take in all that information and process it. And I think it also helps, that it just makes it easier on you guys to not be doing this all at one time. So I give you that 1 week window. There's no acceptance of late work. Once the quiz is shut down, the answers are made available to everybody in the class. So we can't have students taking the quizzes late, because that's not really fair to everybody that's already submitted their work. So please get all your quizzes and homeworks and discussion boards submitted on time. And you can see the process just kind of repeats itself. The second batch of work is due on May 20th. Again, that's a Sunday evening. And notice we're not necessarily going in chronological order. The first quiz is on Chapter 1, the second's on Chapter 2, then we skip over Chapter 3, we move to 4, 5, and 6, and then actually our 6th quiz is going to jump ahead to Chapter 13. So we kind of jump around the book a little bit. And if you notice that third batch of quizzes, we start with Chapter 7 and go through Chapter 22. So it'll be laid out really clearly on the weekly course page what chapters we're covering and what quizzes correspond to which chapter. So it's a 3.5 week class basically. So the first 3 weeks kind of are going to follow that same process, cover 5 chapters, a quiz on each chapter, a homework, and a discussion board. The very last week of class, which is really kind of just a few days for that half week, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to work through 3 more chapters. Those will be bonus quizzes, so if you did miss a prior quiz, or if you didn't do so well on one, you have up to 3 opportunities. So you could take 1, 2, or 3 of these bonus quizzes, and I'll use that in place of your worst grades. So if you take 2 of them, I'll use that in place of your 2 worst grades. And doing these bonus quizzes can't help you. So if you do all 3 and one of them wasn't so great, but 2 you did really well on, I'll use 2 in place of your 2 worst grades. So I encourage you guys to work through those at the end of the semester. It can only help your grade, and of course it adds to your knowledge of economics by doing that extra work. Also, in that last week, we're going to have our final exam and semester end project due. So on May 30th, our final will be due, and then June 1st, the semester end project is due. So the rest of the syllabus just talks about the honor code statement and disability statement. I'll let you guys read through those on your own. And go into our course page. We could see here that right now there's just a week number 1 module that's open, and this kind of highlights everything we're going to cover this week. So notice again, there's those 5 chapters, chapter 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, they're covered. And we have the links for our assignment and discussion board. So if you click on the chapter 1 button here, it takes you to the chapter 1 page, and there's a brief discussion of what we're talking about with chapter 1, which is of course just kind of an overview of economics. Then we have the individual learning objectives for that chapter. And then once you read the chapter and you feel pretty good about it, you can click on the link here, and that will take you into the chapter 1 quiz. You can hit begin assessment, and you can see we have multiple choice questions. And we see this first one, economics is the study of, and basically you just click, all right, which one you think is correct, then you hit next, and that'll take you to your next question. All right, so pretty self-explanatory for how the quizzes are completed. So you always get access to the correct answers the Monday after the quiz is closed. So the quiz is closed actually at 11:55 on Sunday evening. There's not an option for 11:59, so just be aware at 11:55 the quiz will shut down. I have it set at 12:05 Monday morning, so like 10 minutes later, the quiz answers will be out there, so you can see what the correct answers actually are. And if we go back to that page, notice we could click the links for our week 1 assignment here, and there's a little video link. You'll watch this video that talks about supply and demand. It's a pretty cool video that kind of integrates some of our economic concepts with some movie clips. I think it's pretty fun clip, and you're basically just going to answer some questions about the movie clip. I think there might be 1 or 2 questions here that kind of refer back to some of the concepts from the book. So you're going to watch the clip, you're going to talk about what you've seen there, and also kind of integrate some ideas from our textbook with that to be able to answer these questions. So you just go down here and you can type stuff in there, and then once you're done, you just hit submit, and that's how you get that assignment completed. And the last thing we're going to have to do for this very first week is our discussion board. So if we go over there, what you'll do is click on the full description, and it tells you what we're looking for, and then you could actually make a post and start working through that discussion board and kind of sharing with the class your ideas that you have regarding this particular question. So that's going to be the setup that we're going to see in general. The second week, the third week will be the same thing. You're going to take the 5 quizzes, you're going to do a discussion board, you're going to do the homework assignment, and then the last like half week that we work through, that's going to be a little bit different, where you have there's bonus quizzes due, and also our final project and our final exam. So if you wanted to access the quizzes individually, you can go here. Instead of going chapter by chapter through those individual pages, you could access the quizzes here. Same idea with your assignments and forums. There's individual buttons here you could click on that help you find those. Any announcements we have for the class, I'll periodically be posting announcements. You can find all those housed right in here. Your grades can be found right through here, right in the Gradebook Classic. And resources, maybe throughout the course periodically I'll be posting stuff in here. Study guides, stuff like that will be housed in the resource section. And also one last thing, I have a chat room set up here, so if we ever wanted to go in and I had a couple of you guys that wanted to talk through questions at the same time, we could all go into the chat room. I'd be happy to kind of go in there and work through any questions with you guys. So that's an additional tool we have for communications within the class. So I think that basically wraps up the key components of the course. Again, if you guys have any questions about what's going on with the course, please let me know. I'm always happy to discuss economics and discuss our course with you guys. So keep in touch, and best of luck this semester.